In this video, I'll introduce how to add geometric tolerances to an existing drawing. There are two types of geometric tolerances, basically, those that require datums and those that don't. We'll start with a geometric tolerance that doesn't require a datum, and for that we'll use a flatness one, and we'll say we want to make this surface flat. So you'll notice that I'm in the Annotate tab inside an existing drawing, and I'll go over and I'll select the geometric tolerance. As I place it on flatness, and it wants some different information. It wants to know what is the entity being referenced. So is it a surface, is it a datum, is it some other type of entity? In this case, it's a surface. And so we'll select that surface to let it know that's what it's referencing. And it wants to know where to place the tolerance. And you can place the tolerance on a dimension. If you do that, it'll show up like this, so as part of the dimension. But let's say you want to do it instead as a leader, like it's not associated with a particular dimension. You can place that tolerance as though it was a note, and it'll show up there. Let's go with that for that. And then for the then over here you set the tolerance value. So after you do the model references, then you would do the datum references. In this case, you don't need to because this part doesn't, this type of tolerance doesn't take datums, and then the tolerance value. So we'll set it to 0.2. I think that works. We'll say OK. So that means that this surface can vary in flatness by 0.2 millimeters. Next, we want to add a geometric tolerance that requires a datum. So let's add a runout call tolerance. So next we want to add a datum. So next we want to add a tolerance that requires a datum. For that, let's add a runout tolerance somewhere on this part. So once again, I'll open geometric tolerance and I'll say runout. And let's select an entity. Let's do it on this surface here. And let's say we're going to put it on this dimension. So we'll place it on this dimension. Now this technically needs a datum reference, but notice that we don't actually have any datum references available because we haven't called any out. So let's just say OK, and let's add some datums to this drawing. So the best way to do that is actually to go back to the original part. And over here, we will call out the datums that matter. For us, we really, since we're just doing a runout, we need the axis going through the middle of this. And notice there isn't currently an axis in our model tree, so that's going to make it hard for us. So let's start by adding an axis. And we can turn the axes on and have it go right through that existing axis. So I'm going to right click to rotate until I have the one I want to select, and then I left click that and it goes through and say OK. So now I have A2 over here in my model tree, and if I right click that, I can go to its properties and I can display it as a datum. And rather than calling it A2, I'll just call it A. Okay. And then I'm going to place it on the datum on itself and say OK. And when I go back to my drawing, I'm going to show model annotations, come over here, and I'm going to show that axis. So I'm going to say yes, apply that, and notice it shows up there. Right? So I can do it that way. Let's pull this over here. It's kind of messy there, so let's put it over on this side. Okay. Move this out a bit. So now if I want to go back to add this datum to my definition, what I'm going to have to do is set my selection filter on geometric tolerance, and then I'll be able to click this, right click it, and go to properties, and that will take me back to this dialog. So now I can go back to datum references, and under here you'll see that there is one, and I can add that and say OK, and we're done.